There are 3 different grips that you must learn on the backhand if you are going to be proficient on that side of the body. So in this video, we are going to talk about what the grips are, what their key features are, and when to use them. Let's get started.
Drop.
First grip would be a back-loaded grip. We've been talking about this a lot on the channel recently, so I'm going to hit it here again just to make sure. That grip looks like this, okay? The defining features of this grip are that you are pulling the disc into your hand with these back fingers in some way, shape, or form, not up here with these 2 fingers. Okay, so that pressure is going through the rim into my palm. This ensures that I get a nice rip out of my hand. The goal here is to, much like snapping, to keep the disc in my hand and then violently have it work its way out of my grip. When that happens, there is an interaction here from that ripping that adds many miles per hour. Okay, check out the difference in the speed here between this grip and the other grips. So we primarily go for this grip when we want distance first and foremost. Of course, we want everything to be accurate, but that's not the primary goal of this grip. It is maximum efficiency when it comes to distance coming out of the hand. Other key components here is that these fingers right here are not doing too much. You'll notice that the stats on this one are much closer to nose down, much more nose neutral, even without me focusing on it. That's because by pulling here and getting my thumb out of the way, not pushing down with the thumb, I'm not creating this pressure down on the flight plate, which also moves it nose up, okay? So this is one of those cases where the rich get richer in terms of distance, right? So this grip makes it much easier to throw nose down. Doesn't automatically make you throw nose down, but it gets you a lot closer than one where you're pushing heavily with the thumb. Grip pressure, very firm enough for it to rip out. That's gonna change depending on how hard I pull. And you're going to have to learn how to moderate grip pressure. So if you feel this grip, you feel it slip out of your hand like this, I go to yank. You notice my hand did not close back again. That is the hand saying my intention is not to stay closed, right? We want the results of this rip to be the hand closes back again. That's saying I'm trying to keep it in your hand. These front 2 fingers here, gripping very lightly. The phrase that I use sometimes is if I were trying to secure a baby bird with these 2 fingers. Obviously not gonna be super tight holding a baby bird. I just wanna make sure that no matter how clean your throw is, there are gonna be some ups and downs in your swing. For me, the thumb and the index finger are kind of team anti-wobble. They just, when the disc wants to move up, prevents it from moving up too far, so we don't get this. And then if it's going down, this index finger is preventing it from going down. So again, recap on this grip. Pulling through the rim into the hand, not through the flight plate. These 2 fingers here are just loose. They are anti-wobble, trying to make sure that the disc is just controlled, doesn't go up and down crazy like that, okay? Alternatives to this, some of you might find it easier to hold on to this disc with something like a fan grip where you're putting the pressure like this in the rim, and that is totally fine. That doesn't work that great for me, but the principle is your grip is trying to have a lot of support to keep the disc in your hand, and then the disc rips out in spite of that. All right, for this example, we are on a certified bomber hole. So this thing's almost 500 foot, a little downhill, but my primary objective here inside of my stock speed is try to get as much distance as possible. Sometimes you're in woods and you gotta have distance and you gotta learn how to hit your lines with that, but primarily I need a grip that's gonna get me within my stock speed as much distance as I can get. Now the second grip would be a front-loaded grip, and I see this a ton with drives, so I'm gonna show it with the driver here. So defining characteristics are here, where you have a grip and a pinch point between your thumb and your index finger. These fingers are going to come off, so if you look in your slow-mo and you see this at the end of your slow-mo where this has actually closed and clamped back down, but this is open, this is the grip that you were using, right? This tells me where your pressure was at during your throw or where it moved to. Sometimes it can get very sneaky, and when I'm working on distance stuff with people, they will start here and then through their throw they will change, and then this will come off, and this is showing me no resistance there, right? Now, because we do have this little pinch point between the thumb and the index finger, it's much easier to get a little bit of nose up, which you can see in this throw, versus when I use the drive grip from this throw. Because of this interaction up front here, we do get a bit of a pivot and a bit of pop, so we can get a little bit of speed. Not as much as when we do this grip, but also this little interaction here is going to lead to a little bit more nose up. Both of these things are throttling our distance back from our max speed. Why would we want to do that? This gets into the principle of stock speed. In order to be as consistent as we can, we want to throw at our stock speed as much as possible during a round. This, for most people, is around 85%. How do I find 85%? Well, throw 100% and then pull off of it just one step, and that'll put you at a nice, comfortable, committed, but not too fast of a speed, right? This is kind of your body's happy place rhythmically. It performs really well a notch or two below your top speed. So we want to keep our arm in that zone as much as possible. So by changing my grip, I can actually take off 5 miles an hour of my throw, but keep my effort, keep everything else kind of the same. That's very, very powerful over the course of a round, to have your body be that consistent in its rhythm, to not have to change your timing, but to just be able to change your grip. When we want a little bit of pop, we want to throttle the distance a little bit, or maybe we want a little bit of nose up with that pop, we would switch to this grip. Most commonly, we're going to see this grip on Pro Tour with like mids and putters that are being driven, right? Because I don't want to get all the way in here and force this thing to rip out, because it's going to have this wobble to oblivion move, right? So I want to make sure it gets out of my hand cleanly, but I still need a little bit of pop. So I'm going to switch to a grip that looks like this, to where I've got a little bit of thumb pressure now, pressure up here, and these are playing the supporting role, these back fingers, right? The pressure is still here, but I'm not pulling into the rim and pulling the rim of the disc in my hand so much. So I'm on a hole that is 268 feet. I don't want to go here with my grip and have this sucker rip out. I need a little bit of control, but I need a little bit of pop. So I'm going to take my grip, I'm going to put it here that creates this little pivoty point here, and then I'm going to secure the rest of these. I'm going to take this, I've never thrown this disc, but Ellen gave me this disc, so I'm sure it's going to do exactly what I want it to do. But I'm going to give it a nice committed 85% shot out to the right, and I'm just going to let the disc do the work after that. Work, baby. Hey, this is great. Nice and close with Ellen. She flies great. Just make sure you make the putt. The last grip is probably the grip that you use when you're putting. Big characteristic of this grip is that we are pinching the flight plate. Our pressure has now moved from any kind of rim or pivot pressure to our pressure is through the flight plate now. We are pinching kind of like that. So for me, that looks like that. I have moved my index finger because I don't want any kind of hook here. I don't want to have any kind of roll, just through the flight plate like that. You probably use this grip most often when you're putting. I would really recommend you start using this grip for approach shots or shorter, touchier drives where you can get a little bit of nose up and you want to, again, commit with the hand, stock speed with the hand, but you don't want it to go super far. I think you can actually pinch pretty firm through the plate because we want to hold on to this sucker all the way to the hit. And this throw is going to be a lot more with the body aligned forward towards our target. I'm actually going to give you 2 examples for this last one. So I'm going to do the approach shot first. This is where most people are going to use this. Going to take my, what's for most of you kind of a putter grip, going to pinch here as my primary points through the plate. Don't want anything here because I'm going to address my approach shot very forward So I don't want any pivot. I don't want to dress forward, kind of stare down my target and have it start ripping right, or have any desire to do that. I want to have total control out of when this thing comes out of my hand. Now the nose up that this thing is going to give me access to is going to let me commit, even with this downhill behind it. It's going to let me commit nice and solid to my hand speed. I really want to pop it confidently, not have to take too much off of it, and let the nose angle kind of drift it and stop it. So let's try that. Boom. Popping with this grip, since there's no pivot, I pop exactly where I'm trying to throw it, which for me is going to be a little bit right of the basket, and I'm going to let it drift in. Nice nose up, nice committed hit. It's right there. Second example, I don't see this one often enough with players, in my opinion. So imagine there's no forehand line available on this hole. There's death behind the basket. Most players would try to go, okay, let me go really easy on a putter and let me go like 40%. Your body does not like going that far from its stock speed. It does not like slowing its rhythm down that much. So instead, by going through the flight plate here, committing with the hand off the tee, I could really drive this sucker forward straight at the basket. I got a popcorn, so it's got a little bit of flip, but the nose up is going to keep it from going crazy. Nice. Do it for the people. Okay, just parked instead. So if you've got a shot that's a little out of actual approach shot range, try changing your grip there and see if going kind of more of a full walk up with that grip will allow you to point and shoot that sucker committed to the basket. So those are the 3 grips that I have students work on. Now, a drill that I will give my students is when they're going out to play, next time, try to keep all of your shots at stock speed. So again, that's about 85% for most people. See if you can change something else, your grip in this case, and try to keep your arm moving the same consistent speed and having a nice committed shot to the basket instead of trying to finesse everything so much. Work on that. Let me know how it goes. Leave a comment. If you're interested in lessons, we've got the link in the pinned comment below. I will see some of you there. All the best with your practice. Peace out.